everyone, my name is Hina, and welcome to my Genshin. Okay, no one cares about the intro. Columbina's remarketing is finally out, and there are so many irregularities surrounding the whole thing. I need to talk about them immediately. I know the title is kind of doing Columbina dirty, but this is still her remarketing, so I want to start with only her. First of all, it was a bit later than usual, exactly 1 week after the Archon quest dropped, but given the fact they are showing she's alive and is called by her new name, Columbina Hypostellania, understandable they wanted to wait a bit longer. However, cat's out of the bag. I have already made a whole video called How Do We Get Columbina Back about my theories on what will happen next. If you're curious, make sure to check that one out. I won't go through all of that again, but even just this post in itself is quite interesting when you check out the details. Every single line hides some secrets, like her choosing in the end Columbina Hypostellania, so that will be her new government name after the potential rebirth. And the second line might hint towards how exactly that would happen. This is a topic I talked so much about. Her title being Valkyrie Moon's Homecoming is extremely interesting, since this is only the third time ever that Valkyrie Moon was mentioned in the story. First one obviously being the blessing of the Valkyrie Moon, where it was stated that that was the first moon we've seen here, kinda theorizing it might be the false moon's name. Then more recently it was mentioned again in the Notcry Wings of the Silent Moon's description, saying that after completing the Lost Selene Chronicle cycle, likely during Luna 4, a stylized wing glider gifted to you as a mark of the Valkyrie Moon's acknowledgement and recognition. So given all this information and the fact that this year is the Song of the Valkyrie Moon, what is the Valkyrie Moon? I do have a theory for that, something I briefly mentioned in my last video. I think the way people can bring Columbina back and, more importantly, keep her there is making her the moon goddess of not the Frost Moon, but a new moon called Valkyrie Moon, which might be the false moon that originates from Tibet. This lines up well with how the Hymns of the Far North book talks about there being 4 moons sometime in the future, which wouldn't make sense if Columbina was just another moon maiden of the Frost Moon. I think she might be attached or reborn as this new moon's maiden, but with that being said, I really don't think the heavens are looking too fondly at the Taurus stealing away the moons and us wanting to create just another one. The Gods Limit video also somewhat lines up with the events before Luna 3, so I think it's about time they do something about this whole mess. And while I really want to talk about the Tsaritsa, now that the heavens are mentioned, I will go through Columbina first because the last 2 lines are quite interesting, not knowing how she wields a hydro, which, I mean, makes sense that she doesn't have a vision or a moon wheel, but then we also don't know her constellation. This is really rare to happen, but there is an example for it, that being Nuvilet. In his trip marketing, the constellation Leviathan Judictor would have given away that he's a dragon, so understandably that was left out initially. Something similar is in play here for Columbina, might be something about the new moons or being reborn, though both of those are things we already expect, so not exactly sure what it is hiding. And yes, I will get to that quote soon, but just before that, as for her story, talks about how the world, described here as her mother, gave her birth that basically exhausted all the love for her, and from that point on, she was left alone. There are already a few parallels here to the other 3 moons, since it feels like just how the moons were not necessarily mute, they were forced not to speak to Shukotal. It could be the same for Columbina, how she was forced to be blind, as in walking aimlessly, and we might even see her eyes after being accepted, though we don't know much about it yet. The next paragraph talks about her journey, how it started in Notcry, ended in Notcry, but there is also a mention of a place called Glupov that is actually from Russian history and basically means the town of fools, probably somewhere in Snezhnaya, with Piero being the jester himself. I think this is pretty clearly referring to the Fatuis base, and it's just funny how they would be in the little town of fools if that's the case. Then, as we know, she found her new name in the latest Archon quest, being Columbina Hypostellania, meaning born under the moon, and the next line once again being quite interesting. Now at the top of the tower, the moon that held her answers hovered just within reach. Could mean what I mentioned before, that she will be the moon maiden of this new moon, the false moon of Tibet, since, well, that is the closest to Tibet when Dottore is not doing his shenanigans. Finally, the last line, she stretched out her arms, but it was like the moon falling into water, might be a reference to how it was mentioned countless times, the past reflected in the water is the future. This could cycle back to how there will be 4 moons and how the past might repeat itself, be it with the moon's creation or Celestia's power over them. And I also want to mention how in Japanese it sounds a little different, since it's explicitly stated that when reaching out her arms to the moon, she fell into the water, which is just like the moon's shadow. So that might even be how she fell into the moon gate, the moon's reflection. I talked about this before, but I really think Rerir will play a big part in what's gonna happen there, might even be involving Tolin this again, but these are just theories for now. And with that being said, let's move on to another very big reveal that happened today. Literally, this is the title of the video. Likely the reveal of Her Majesty, the Tsaritsa's government name. The quote, "Winter nights know no mercy, she left her curtains nest in frost and snow, no one is obliged to restore that which she has lost," was said by Anastasia Fedorovna Snezhnaya. This is not the first time we see a nation's name. Furina's name is Furina de Fontaine. And furthermore, Columbina didn't know many people in Snezhnaya. We know that it's none of the harbingers, so it is heavily implied that that is the Cryo-Archon. The name itself is also incredibly suspicious, Anastasia literally meaning resurrection, which was already heavily hinted in the Hymns of the Far North book, being Tsaritsa's plan for her dead lover, the third descender. And if you play Honkai Impact 3rd, the name Anna might ring a bell too. The community had 2 major camps theorizing if the Cryo-Archon would be based on Branya or Anna, but I think this finally confirms that she will be similar to Anna, the Herrscher of Ice, which, I mean, of course makes sense. And while I'm not the most knowledgeable on Honkai lore, I know Anna's story is also somewhat lines up, since she killed her lover, Owl, during her awakening. There might be some similarities to the Tsaritsa's past, if she was forced to kill her lover due to the Abyss, or in more broad parallels, maybe she just lost him to Celestia, who used him to fight the Abyss. The fact we have yet to see how Tsaritsa looks like might also be because of that, if she resembles Anna, but hopefully we get more information on that soon. The whole thing about Tsaritsa being that person from the Hymns book also somewhat further confirmed in the famous Dane trailer, where in Chinese it's even more explicitly stated that she cannot love again and no one can love her again. And finally, the last thing I want to mention is that we actually got the special program announcement, which is way earlier than usual. It will happen on January 2nd, and usually we get the announcement the same week. But this makes a lot of sense, since it was today when the schedule for Genshin Fest came out, happening at the start of next year in Shanghai, and they will of course have a watch party for that live. This is also the reason why it will be much earlier than usual, so that people attending can watch it in a more comfortable time. Pretty interesting though, how we didn't get a title for next batch. So far all the titles follow the musical terms, with Luna's 3 being intermezzo or interlude, which would mean that we get a new story now. Not sure when we will learn of that title, but one thing is sure, when that comes out with maybe a new splash art, I will certainly make a video about that. The Game Awards will also happen soon, this Thursday, so if Genshin has something planned for it, like a video or extra announcements, I will cover those as well. However, this is all I could say about this drip marketing, not only revealing a lot of Columbina, but finally giving us some more Tsaritsa hints as well. And more will definitely come, with now Columbina also having her official TikTok account in China. Not sure what that will be used for, but it's officially verified by MiHoYo, so I'm definitely keeping a close eye on it. I mentioned at the start of this video too, for all the theories what will happen in Luna 4, make sure to check out my previous lore video. But as per usual, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give a like, and if you want to see more content like this, then make sure to subscribe. I will see you on my Genshin channel, and see you in the next one. Bye bye!